Not long after cars became mass-produced, an intrepid bunch of businesses from New Hampshire got together to form an association that we call the New Hampshire Automobile Dealers Association. Now, I've only been at the helm since 2007, so I'm not about to tell you about the whole history of the NHADA, nor that of the automobile, but instead we thought a great idea would be, let's hear some stories from our own members and partners.
It's a partner.
Awesome.
Dealer advocate.
Purposeful.
Committed.
Probably the word drive would describe it.
Community.
Powerful.
Integrity.
Fellowship.
Fellowship, yeah, that's...
Collaborative.
Supportive.
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 Family.
Backbone.
Successful.
Family and trust.
A well-run machine.
Quality.
Smart.
I would say supportive. I would say resourceful.
So a word that best describes NHADA. You know, frankly, a lot of positive and strong words come to mind, but the two biggest words for me are collaboration and family. And we have a couple board members that are on the board now, and they were even part of our family before they even started their careers in automotive.
It's funny, recently I was at my parents' house and we were looking at photo albums, and the first photos that opened up were our family at an NHADA convention at the Omni Mount Washington, and I was 6 months old. So that was probably my first vacation ever.
The family conventions were always so fun. And I think back, I watched people's children grow. And I'm so glad that we're getting together to have another convention. I've been urging Pete to get pictures from the past because it's just so endearing to see people's young children and now fully grown adults. Even when we look at our own, it's just a moment in time where we all got together and got to know each other better. Those were really great memories for us.
You know, you go to the family conventions and it's so exciting to have the 100th year upon us. And I look back, you know, my kids grew up at coming to these conventions. You know, there has been some possible, you know, riding of sharks or bulls or whatever we want to call them. Might have been lost a hula hoop contest once or twice to somebody's daughter. It's a lot of fun, you know, and we're in a fun business. We're in a business that is engaging. It takes passionate people to run them. And so when you put passionate people off to go play, sometimes it's quite entertaining, but there's a lot of fun memories.
Over the years, we always had the NHADA had the conventions at Bretton Woods, at Mount Washington, back before it was redone by Marriott and all the rest of it. And we were asked to bring a black tie, you know, a tux. So one of the meals, so we'd have a casual Friday or Thursday, Friday or something, or whatever the dates were, and then there was one night where it was formal. And the women would show up with if not gowns, and certainly a formal dress of some kind. And I love to dress up for events, and this was just perfect.
And I remember all these outfits and all these themes, and I just thought that was so fun as a kid. And you would go there, there'd be hundreds of people. It'd almost be like a wedding, but it wasn't a wedding, but everyone knew each other and they were so happy to be around each other. And I just thought that was so neat, growing up in that type of environment.
I think it was my first convention. I went up and it was at the Balsams. And I remember we didn't know a lot of the auto dealers because it was the first one that we had been to, and asked if we could play with a couple of the dealers in the golf tournament, and they paired us up with David McGreevy and Jeff Plattick, and it was a fantastic day. And you know, looking back on that, that was really my first introduction to the association, and couldn't have had two better ambassadors to welcome me into the association. And I am happy to say that I'm still friendly with both of those gentlemen today. And they're two of the longest standing relationships that I actually have professionally and personally in this state.
I think back to the first convention I went to. It was at the Loon Mountain Resort, and I was new and was kind of just sitting on the sides, kind of watching and learning, and you know, watching everybody, you know, do the limbo. You know, all these dealers doing the limbo at the water park up there. I forget the name of it, Whalesdale Water Park. And then to axe throwing at the Mountain View Grand a few years back was awesome. Last year, or 2 years ago, last year unfortunately because of COVID we couldn't, but 2 years ago the cruise on the Mount Washington on Lake Winnipesaukee was a wonderful experience. There's been so many. I look forward to, you know, just having more memories every year.
I've had a lot of fun. I enjoy all the events. I can't think of like that one time. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think it's collectively just relationships that you get out of the association, the people you get, the other fellow members and stuff that you get to visit with.
You know, for me, it always goes back to people. So it's the relationships that I have that I can call the principal of a lot of dealerships that are friends now, and that, you know, I would never have known. And yeah, so my fondest memory is sitting on the board, having Roger Grew twist my arm.
In New Hampshire, we have a good, friendly relationship between most auto dealers. Sometimes it's a little thin, but nevertheless, we talk to each other.
I quickly found out that it wasn't just about business, that the personal relationships that I had with people who I never would have come in contact with, frankly, might have just considered them adversaries in the business world. Through the association, I made some relationships that to this day are just critical to my being. And I think that over time, you get involved because of a business need, but if you just kind of let it vibe with you a little bit, you'll find out those personal connections are as valuable as any business advantage you might gain from the association. So it was the people part, staff and members included, that are very important to me.
The people I met, I really mean that. The staff really cares about the dealers. They've responded very, very positively. And we've been lucky with the people we've had working there. There's the dedication is, compared to some of the other groups that I've been involved with, the dedication of the staff is exemplary.
One person stood out, and Dan McLeod. He was there for a long, long time, and I had a chance to spend a significant amount of time with Dan and his wife at some of the conventions.
When I think about NHADA, I think about the leader they had by the name of Dan McLeod, and I was involved with him on the boards, and he was an unbelievable leader and greatly loved by all the dealers, greatly respected by all the politicians in New Hampshire. He had the ear of Concord and them right in his back pocket. He was so professional, so calm, cool, knew the twists and turns you have to take in Concord to get bills passed, and had been a great mentor for a lot of the people that are still at New Hampshire auto dealers.
By far I enjoyed the trip to Washington, D.C., and that was an eye-opener. And there were a lot of very memorable speakers that I just walked away with chills from some of them. Bob Woodward was one of them. That was probably the most memorable speaker I have ever listened to.
I suggested that for the meeting, I hire a boat on the lake, and then we had a big boat that used to carry the mail, so we hired that, and those who could and did come, most of them brought something or did something to make it more party-like. I think we had almost enough Doors White Label Scotch to float the USS Utah, but I don't remember any particular business being particularly important.
When Paul Holloway became the president of the National Auto Dealers Association, a good number of the membership trooped down to New Orleans, and it was literally the biggest 4-day party I think any of us have ever experienced.
Being around for over 100 years means that we've helped our partners and members through good times and bad. And some of my fondest memories, frankly, are that of grassroots collaboration. We've had a lot of time over at the State House, and it always blows me away when we have a call to action. Our members come out in droves. They call their state representatives and senators, they write to them, they show up to testify, and by the dozens they'll be standing in the back of the room. Just that physical show of force and support for what we're trying to do. And to me, that just is the definition of an association of people banding together for a cause.
When I first got in the business in the early 80s, we had interest rates in the 20% range, and it was pretty shocking even for somebody 20 years old.
That was your time between the gas crunch in the late 70s and then right into the interest rates.
Yeah, it was a tough years, but we all worked hard and did things that we had to do and we didn't want to do, and it's thank goodness it came back again, and slowly but surely, yeah. And we lost some dealers as a result of that, which was bad and was tough. But yeah, some of them, well, we had to stick together, and that's, if we hadn't, you know, if we were just alone, it wouldn't be. But we didn't. We came through with it. Yeah.
And that's when Ford Credit and GMAC and Chrysler Credit all became very valuable to car dealers. Because you couldn't do any business. I mean, the banks wouldn't buy anything.
9/11 was certainly a game changer where our country was just completely in a state of shock. And General Motors introducing 0% financing for the first time in history and giving the industry the jump start, it just showed how powerful the industry can be and like how it can move the market even when the market was at its most sudden stop, right? Business just stopped during 9/11.
And then along comes 2008, you know, talk about scary. It was a frightening period. We had Cash for Clunkers, which was also a scary program. But again, this is where New Hampshire auto dealers really made a difference.
I mean, car sales just plummeted, and it was a scary time for the dealers. We were losing floor plan companies. It was just a big thing. With NHADA at that time, we had the voice of our local senators, our state senators, and congresspeople listening to the local dealers that were literally losing their floor plan from banks folding under. It was a horrible time.
I think the last situation we went through with COVID, which I don't think anyone wants to talk about anymore, I think that the association did a great job keeping the dealers in business during it and lobbying for that to happen. Making sure that people knew that it was an essential business, allowed everyone at the association looking at it now, to prosper and work through it, which I thought was great. Had we not have strong as an association, maybe that wasn't the outcome. Maybe we all would have had 6 months off and tried to figure out how to do business, and we wouldn't be in the same situation we're in right now.
It was a relationship that the association was able to create with the governors and past governors too, but especially with Chris Sununu to get us classified as a business of necessity.
I think actually this past year, you know, if we're watching this in 2021, this past year of COVID, having to understand how do you navigate something that none of us has ever had to deal with before. And maybe my grandfather could have said, oh yeah, well, during the Great Depression it was like this, or during the war it was like that. But our current generation, we don't have those memories to reflect on. We don't understand really how to rally necessarily. So I think during COVID, it was really important to be able to just pick up the phone and talk to our local dealers across the state and just say like, hey, what are you up against and how are you handling it? You know, I've received calls from dealers wondering something as simple as a mask mandate or not a mask mandate. How do you handle that? How's your staff doing? You know, we could share kind of battle stories, but also try to find solutions together.
Surviving COVID, you know, a year of, I think I was the only chair that never had a meeting in the boardroom, because we did everything via Zoom.
Something else will happen in a couple of years, and it won't be a negative thing on the industry. At that moment, you're going to feel like it's the worst thing ever, but when you look back through time, look at everything we've dealt with.
The NHADA is a member-led organization. All of our boards is made up of members of the association and partners, and the staff here is here to carry out the strategic plan set forth by the members. And frankly, our success here is only measured by the success of how our members and partners do.
One of my fondest memories, and I played a very small role when we got the Dealer Bill of Rights passed. And it was interesting because I was in the hearing room, and the panel of legislators were listening to for and against. And General Motors brought in a very slick lawyer who had a Southern accent. He was speaking to a panel that every one of them wore flannel shirts.
The flannel panel.
And he absolutely talked down to them. Didn't take much to get the law passed.
When you look at the Dealer Bill of Rights, and we've made two major changes in the last decade to our Bill of Rights, which is the franchise laws that protects each and every one of us. Yes, they advocate hard. They work extremely hard. In order to get the legislation that we got through that really, truly has protected the dealers within this state. It was a huge effort with the dealers, but the dealers would not have been able to have been organized, resources put to use without New Hampshire auto dealers putting their effort in.
I mean, you go to the legislature and you talk about, oh, did Dan send you? You know, that's what they say. And I said, what do you mean, Dan? They said, you know, Dan is over here all the time and rah, rah, rah. But they respect him and they appreciate the way he talks to them. And I think that buys us a lot of goodwill.
I think some of the things that I'm most proud of is the things that the organization has done to help the kids with the workforce development initiatives and such, that we've been able to work with the local colleges and technicians, et cetera, advancing all of these young men and women into the field. I think that's something that, from my side of it, I think I'm most proud of, being able to offer some of those opportunities.
NHADA plays a factor in enrollment and recruitment because students recognize that this is a real organization, real-world organization that's tied directly to the auto industry and that can provide them with opportunities and options that they wouldn't have otherwise.
My personal relationship with New Hampshire Auto Dealers Association goes back a long ways. I've been in this field now for 19 years, and before that I was a student. And as a student, I felt them as a strong partner in my education, being a recipient of scholarships myself, and now as a professional member of the community college community, as well as a board member. They continue to work very hard to ensure that we have a strong pipeline of entry-level technicians entering our businesses.
And I can recall a time where I've called up New Hampshire ADA because we had a student who was $1,000 short. And that young man was a star pupil. And we called and they immediately got emergency funds so that that student could get his tools.
And it also shows that the industry is really interested in getting them into that, right? So otherwise, they may choose HVAC or welding or somewhere else, but New Hampshire Auto Dealers having that scholarship really helps with encouraging them to show them that this is a good place for you and people want you and need you.
And then I finally got a mouth and started saying, why don't we get some used car dealers involved, because there's going to be a lot of them out there and they get treated like second-class people at the meetings that I've been to. So let's move forward with that. And so as time went on, things got better for the used car guys, and now it's spread out to all the other motorsports dealers in the state.
Allowing the used car dealers to become full members of the association gave us a lot more strength in numbers, especially with the Workers' Comp Trust.
Another role that we carried in a leadership position was our work on workers' compensation, and how New Hampshire has its own Workers' Comp Trust that was formed by the dealers. I believe that John Gauthier was one of the founding members.
The one thing that I was mostly concerned with, and I'm very proud of, was the Workers' Comp Insurance Trust that we started. I feel that I had a major part of that, and it has provided income that we didn't have before, plus for the dealers themselves a chance to get a fair shot at workers' comp and for less money.
I was chair twice. I was the second woman chair, with Joanne Whitcomb being the first, and which was a big deal, I think, for women in business and the state of New Hampshire, women in business in the state.
So we had this program where basically the New Hampshire Auto Dealers Association became a social service agency for about 8 years, and we implemented this program in almost all the schools in New Hampshire.
I just want to take a moment to congratulate New Hampshire Automobile Dealers Association on their 100th year anniversary. Congratulations, New Hampshire Automobile Dealers Association.
From our team at the NHADA headquarters to your team back at our members and our partners, we've been truly honored to be the voice of the motor vehicle industry for the past 100 years. Here's to the next 100 years. Let's keep this thing rolling.
We are NHADA. We are
the NHADA.
We are the NHADA. We are
the NHADA.
We are
the NHADA.
We are
the NHADA.
We are NHADA.
We are
the NHADA.
We are
the NHADA.
We are
We are
the NHADA.
We are
the NHADA.
We are the NHADA.